Recently relegated Burnley have hired Scott Parker to replace Vincent Kompany, who's gone to German giants Bayern Munich. A move I don't think many people thought was coming after a disappointing campaign in the top flight last season, winning just 5 games. Meaning the club perhaps wasn't expecting to go into the season looking for a new manager, hence the late appointment. And it's reported that Liam Rosenior, Frank Lampard and Ruud van Nistelrooy were also all in the running. But Scott Parker's come out on top and will take the Clarets into the 24-25 season. Before we look at Parker, his tactics and if he's a good fit or not, let's look at the previous manager, Vincent Kompany. The 22-23 season was a massive success for Burnley. After a disappointing relegation the season prior, they made the switch in style from Sean Dyche's direct football to Kompany's modern possession-based football, heavily inspired by Pep Guardiola. Most games were set up with a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 or 4-1-4-1, with the key principles of dominating the ball and building up with the least amount of players possible, but as many as needed, and clean ball progression. But although Burnley got over 100 points in the Championship, they struggled in the Premier League and went straight back down last season. And this idea of Vincent Kompany's Burnley was prominent in the media and might be something Burnley fans are thankful to get rid of. There's no doubt Kompany's a talented tactician, that's why Bayern Munich have got him, but this video isn't about him, and that's just a brief summary of Burnley before Scott Parker. So Scott Parker is no stranger to promotion from the Championship after doing with Fulham and Bournemouth now, and you'd think the 43-year-old would be loved by the fans of both these clubs after that, but the reality is most of them don't. Firstly, neither promotion was particularly convincing or playing the best football all the time, and of course falling out of the board and the fans at times, as well as going straight back down after promotion with Fulham and being sacked in just August with Bournemouth. And to make things worse for Parker, Marco Silva showed just how good that Fulham side is, getting them promoted straight back up and guiding them to consecutive comfortable mid-table finishes, as well as Gary O'Neill comfortably keeping Bournemouth up the season that he lost 9-0 to Liverpool and got sacked in August after complaining the squad wasn't good enough. And this season, of course, Iraola also succeeded with them. Now, there's two arguments to this debate. One is that it's a results-based business and Scott Parker has 2 promotions in 2 seasons in the second tier on his CV. The other is, well, what I've just said. The Englishman also had a spell at Belgian side Club Brugge, but was sacked after just 12 games, so he needs to do well at Turf Moor. In terms of what a Scott Parker team looks like, they normally set up with a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, similar formations to what Kompany's Burnley played, which should help with the players becoming familiar to the system. One key part of Parker's football is the pressing, and an implementation of a system that defends on the front foot will be expected next season. This often involves keeping a high defensive line and forwards expected to defend opposition defenders. In the 21-22 season with Bournemouth in the Championship, his side averaged 8.72 passes per defensive action, lower than the year prior, having 10.79 PPDA. And if you're a normal person who doesn't know what passes per defensive action is, it's essentially a metric used to analyse a team's defensive intensity and how effectively they press or disrupt an opponent's play. So a lower PPDA indicates a more aggressive and effective pressing. Additionally, in the Championship with Fulham, Parker's side had 9.44. This is an example of Parker's pressing at Bournemouth. Here you can see Huddersfield trying to play out from the back, and Solanke has put pressure on the keeper, forcing him to pass it to the centre-back, where his side can now keep them on that side of the pitch and continue to pressure. Solanke's also cutting off the pass back to the keeper, not allowing them to escape the press. The ball then comes back to Solanke and he has a shot at goal. But looking more broadly at out of possession, Parker's team set up to be hard to break down, and they wait for play to progress down into their own half, where they have the numerical advantage before taking action. So Scott Parker's team aren't necessarily high pressing, but more strategic at their pressing, often winning the ball back and often pressing in more central areas. When transitioning to attack, Parker wants his side to be quick and direct, so they look to make clever runs and make space for other teammates. By doing this, they create the best opportunity to score following a turnover. He can see an angle run being made, dragging the opposition player away and making space. Then, as for defensive transition, Parker's team look to win the ball back quickly, but after they have regained their shape and defensive positions. In terms of attacking, Parker's side like to keep their wide players right out wide, stretch the pitch and the back line, and open spaces centrally. His sides also utilise the overlapping run from fullbacks and the underlapping runs from midfielders, which offers passing options and also gives the numerical advantage in a 3v2 situation down the flank. Then on the other side, more players run into the box, attracting the defenders, opening up space. Getting numbers forward in attack is also important to his style of play. However, it's not always beautiful football from Parker's teams. I remember towards the end of the Championship season with Bournemouth, they resorted to more direct football at the end of the season, but Burnley fans had Sean Dyche for nearly 10 years, so it won't be too much of a shock. Also, one thing to note is that in both of his Championship successful seasons, Parker's team relied on a target man up front in Mitrovic and Solanke. Obviously, Burnley have some talented forwards at the club, but whether any of these can be a 20-plus goal a season striker in the Championship, we'll have to see. So why did Burnley hire Scott Parker? Well, no doubt his experience at getting promoted from this division is the main reason, but as we've established, Parker is a talented manager with some good tactics and principles which could work well at Burnley. And yes, all the things I mentioned earlier which might make him less appealing are true, but he is a good coach. Is he a good fit for Burnley? Well, I think so, yeah. We know he's inherited a good squad and one that should be challenging for promotion, at the very least top 6, but let's be honest, should be getting automatic. And I think if he implements his style of play well at Turf Moor, there's no reason why he can't succeed. Well, unless he says his players aren't good enough and has a go at the board and then gets relegated after they go up and loses 9-0 every week. And hey, if he does that, he'd be a great fit for Southampton. But anyway, I will be looking forward to seeing Scott Parker's cardigan back in the dugout again. And let me know what you think of his appointment. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.